Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get ready and get started. The idea is to be able to get you home by 8 p.m. If we can get home earlier if you want. It's not. My name is Jessica Keller. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director over the Sustainable Public Infrastructure Division, and that includes all things related to transportation, sustainability, and facilities operations. Tonight, we have our consultant here with us. This is Hold Your Hand Up consulting team, Lochner. James and I will be giving the presentation tonight. We also have city staff here. Raise your hand if you're city staff. Okay, you can ask the questions that you have, city staff and consulting team, and we're happy to help you. So how many people here have been to a traffic calming meeting in the city of Coral Gables before? I'm just trying to figure out who. Okay. How about, is this your first time at a traffic calming meeting? Okay. You found out about the meeting because of a mailing. Raise your hand. Okay. That's good to see. We direct mailed property owners in the zone, and the zone covers the area between Coral Way and Bird Road. So how many people are sick of traffic problems and congestion in the city of Coral Gables? How many people would like to get from point A to point B faster? You're in the wrong meeting because we are slowing people down in this meeting. Okay, so the idea is to slow people down moving through our neighborhoods. And we will get started with the official presentation starting now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming out to the Zone 2 Traffic Calming Meeting. I'm James Spinks. I'm with Lochner. We'll get started. I think we will. There we go. All right, I'm going to give you all a brief overview of what we're going to do tonight. We just had welcome and introductions. We're going to talk about the project background, what is traffic calming, discuss the traffic calming toolkits, recommended improvements, next steps, and then we're going to have a breakout section at the end of the presentation where you all are going to be able to provide comments, mark up all these nice maps we just printed out for you to put your marks on and give your comments and provide comment cards and so on and so forth. Project background starts off 2016. We had a multimodal transportation plan, and it was launched in early 2016 with the objective to develop a 10-year blueprint to improve the city's transportation system, provide better travel choices for transit, multimodal facilities, and traffic calming. We had a series of meetings that year in 2016 here in the city. You can see all the different locations where we had meetings. I think it were a total of 7 meetings that took place to get public input. Through that, it was a resident-driven approach, and we've been collecting comments for the last 5 years. We compiled more than 150 plus comments. Those comments have been logged, reviewed, mapped, documented, and measures have been taken and analyzed and tested in specific locations within the city. And that's been done. Some of you all may have noticed hoses on your streets at some period of time over the last year or two. And that's what we're doing, gathering data to see about if you basically pass the warrants for traffic calming.
And how many people here have sent an email to the city to let us know that you have a concern related to traffic on your streets? Okay, so if you've sent an email, we've logged it, we've documented it, and we have tested the location.
Okay. Another very instrumental thing what the city has done is in 2018, lowered the speed limits from 30 to 25. Most of you all have noticed on residential streets.
Yes, you live on Valencia. The speed limit on your street is 25 miles per hour. Okay, so the approach to traffic calming citywide to make our streets safer. Number one, we lowered the speed limit to 25 miles per hour on local residential streets. And working with the police department, they have been enforcing 25 mile per hour speed limits since we changed to 25 miles per hour. The next step is roadway design. And that's where we are today, is roadway design. And we're going to take questions at the end, okay?
Okay. Also in 2018, there was an interlocal agreement between the City of Coral Gables and Miami-Dade County. What this did is it allowed the city to install and maintain certain traffic calming devices on local municipal streets that are operated and maintained by the city without having any additional approval from the county.
Okay, so some of you have been at this for a very long time. And in the past, what the approach was is that we would get a concern brought to our attention. We would have to pay a consultant to study that location. And what I mean by study is they would collect data. And we would determine that more often than not, warrants wouldn't be met to implement traffic calming on your streets. That's because Miami-Dade County has a different criteria than what the City of Coral Gables negotiated in 2018. And it took us years to get that negotiated. And that's why you've seen this lapse in time since you've been to a traffic calming meeting back in 2016 until you are here today seeing what we're proposing initially as a result of all the studies that we've done across the city.
Okay. And as you can see, in advancing the city's vision, the City of Coral Gables is dedicated to improving the accessibility and quality of life of our neighborhoods through safer streets. As you can see, heard from Melissa, there's been a lot of work done for the last several years. We're continuing to work. We're in the design phase now, so we're moving forward. The project background of the city, we adopted a strategic plan, objective to attain world-class performance level in public safety. We have a goal set to reduce injuries by 10% each year. We have 70 out of the resident-driven approach, 70% of the residents surveyed prioritize transit, walking, and bike improvements on city streets. The 2019 community survey ranked traffic calming as a #2 priority. What will make Coral Gables more walkable? The summary of the plan. As you can see, more than 50% want slower traffic, of the residents want slower traffic, more and better crosswalks, speed tables for crossings.
Okay, in this diagram, anyone who was at one of our previous traffic calming meetings back in 2016, this is the results of those meetings where you came in and you identified what type of traffic calming you would like to see on your streets.
And as you can see, the most popular options were the mini roundabouts, tree-lined streets, and the reduced speed limit. Shared spaces, medians, and traffic diverters were also very popular as well and were supported by the residents. As you all know, this is your community. You drive around, there's already a lot of, the city's been hard at work. There's already a lot of existing traffic calming in place. You can see on this maps, all the dots represent existing devices. The squares represent existing closures.
And one of the things we want to note is that closures are no longer allowed in Miami-Dade County. So the closures we have, there will not be any new closures.
So what is traffic calming? For those of you all, I saw a lot of hands come up when she asked if you ever been to a traffic calming meeting. Traffic calming is a system of strategies that aim to slow traffic down in order to make streets safer for all modes of travel. Traffic calming in Coral Gables is focused on reducing the impact of traffic volumes and speeds on residential neighborhoods. So there's a criteria. Jessica talked about a little bit about the Miami-Dade criteria and how stringent it was and how hard it was for you all previously to get traffic calming warranted on your blocks. They fought hard. They got new criteria that was approved in the interlocal agreement. Part of that criteria includes an analysis of daily traffic volumes, the 85th percentile speeds. Sidewalks on one side or both sides are not present at all. Pedestrian generators, are you close to a school, a park, or a transit stop? What is the driveway density on your block? And the number of crashes that occur on your street. Those are the criteria that we utilize now to determine if you warrant traffic calming on your street.
And so, actually, can you go back to that previous slide?
All right.
And so all of those things that we consider when developing, this is the criteria, and there's points assigned to each of these criteria. And on any particular street, if you get a 10 on your street, then you are eligible for traffic calming. So we have this, if you're curious about the math, you can always come, we have this chart here that explains how the points are assigned. The heaviest is the speed, and then the next heaviest is the presence of crashes.
Okay. And this is important because the point system did make it more favorable for a lot of your residential streets and for you to warrant traffic calming.
And it's a system too. So
Yes.
something to keep in mind. Before I mentioned that we would test one location, determine whether or not there would be traffic calming there. And then for those of you who live near street closures, you know what happens. When you close one street, it moves it somewhere else. So it's a system approach. So when we look at all of these traffic calming devices that are being proposed and can still be proposed with your additional input, we have to look at it as a system. If we have traffic calming one place and decide no traffic calming someplace else, it's going to have a negative impact.
Okay. Most important factor in creating safer streets is slowing vehicles down. This is an interesting dynamic here that shows that the likelihood of a fatality just in 10-mile-per-hour increments increases the likelihood of a fatality significantly. For instance, at 20 miles per hour, 13% likely for fatality or severe injury. 30 jumps to 40%. 40 miles per hour jumps all the way to 73%. So that is the aim of traffic calming. We want to slow folks down. We want to keep the streets safe. In 2016, 16 pedestrians were struck and killed every day in the U.S. So that's just some interesting statistics. The Miami, Fort Lauderdale, South Florida area, I'll call it, is ranked 9 of the 10 deadliest metro areas in Florida. Are in Florida. 9 of the 10 deadliest areas are in Florida. And while the rest of the country seems to be getting better, Florida continues to sort of get worse. So we want to help. We want to make Florida better, right? And we want to make Coral Gables better. So we want to slow folks down, and we want to make this area walkable and livable. Jessica just talked about the systematic approach. We have a toolkit that we utilize in traffic calming. There's volume control measures, speed control measures, and other measures that are sort of intersection control measures. For speed control measures, there's active and passive speed control measures. Active measures, I'll start with passive measures. Passive measures include on-street parking, bicycle facilities, narrow lanes, and so forth. The active measures include diverters and speed humps and speed tables and so forth. Volume control, I'm sorry, I jumped over. Speed humps, volume control are diverters, median turn blocks, and forced turn islands and things of that nature. So it's a systematic approach, as Jessica stated. When we go in and we look at all the volumes, we look at the criteria, we want to make sure that it's a comprehensive approach. We don't want to lose one problem and create a problem on the street adjacent to you. So we have to look at it very systematically and not push a problem to another location. All right. There are several county-approved measures that are in our interlocal agreement. Those include speed tables, speed cushions, raised intersections, circles, and roundabouts.
Now, why is this important? These are the 4 that we can implement the fastest. And that's because we have the agreement with the county that streamlines the process. This doesn't mean that this is all you can have. It just means it's the fastest to implement. So if some of these don't work for you, we have the toolkit that James mentioned earlier, and there are other things that we can do on the streets that you may find more appealing. It will take longer to implement working with the county.
This is an example of some speed tables. As you can see, they're flat topped. They have an incline. They're flat on the top and go back down. There's various designs with asphalt and brick pavers and so on and so forth.
But the Coral Gables standard is the lovely bottom right-hand corner here. Can only find this here in Coral Gables. So we just have the other ones just so that you know what the speed tables look like other places, and you've probably seen them other places. But the bottom right corner here, if you've been on Aragon Avenue, Giralda Avenue, or other streets between Bird and Blue Road, we have already built speed tables in those locations.
And these are speed cushions. As you can see, there's a very sort of similar design, but there's space in between the cushions, and that allows for emergency vehicles and bikes and so forth to not have to go over them. Here's a cushion that was under construction here.
This is down on Solano Prado. So if you're interested in what a speed cushion looks like, this is the first one that's being built permanently on Solano Prado. We have temporary ones that are currently in place on Biltmore Drive. Biltmore Drive is located between Blue Road and Riviera. But those they're just temporary, but you can see what it feels like to drive over a speed cushion if you want to take a test ride on one of those.
And this is a raised intersection. As you can see, it's similar to a table, but it occurs at an intersection where the entire intersection is raised up, and it basically forces the drivers to slow down as they go through the intersection. And
one of the benefits of the raised intersection is that it prioritizes pedestrian travel because the pedestrian is raised up at the sidewalk level.
Yes. Circles and roundabouts. You can see that there's a circle there on the left, and then you can see the mini roundabouts on the right. So you can see that they're generally, clockwise in nature. They allow for, bikes can go around them, and there's a geometry that forces speeds to slow down. Circle. Oh, so counterclockwise. And as far as circles, also have a huge safety component as well. Federal studies have shown that they reduce crashes at the intersections by more than 70%. So.
And it's also the severity of those crashes is decreased. So it's not just the frequency, but it's the severity.
Yes. We also have in our toolkit pedestrian crossings and raised pedestrian crossings. As you can see on the left, that is a pedestrian crossing that's at grade. If you look on the right side, you can see the raised pedestrian crossing, which is similar to what we showed on the raised intersection, where the pedestrian is now raised and increases the visibility of the pedestrian for the vehicular traffic.
And we haven't built one of those yet in Coral Gables, but we do have one under design. And if you have ever crossed the street on Aragon Avenue between the garage and Books, you have definitely jaywalked. And we are installing a crosswalk, and it'll be a raised crosswalk at that location.
We also have in our toolkit median chicanes and chokers. These do require additional Miami-Dade approval. As Jessica talked about, we have the 4 that we're allowed to install that are implemented faster. These are also examples of some different devices and measures that we can use that require different county approvals.
This is actually a rendering of a median that we will be proposing on Alhambra Circle. If you're familiar, if you ever drive up and down Granada Boulevard, and as you're going over the canal, there's those landscaped medians in the center that works to slow drivers as they're going over the bridge. We'll also be proposing the same treatment on Alhambra Circle at the bridge approach. And we have a rendering. You can get a close-up look here. It's just a rendering. It's conceptual.
Okay. And here's a traffic separator, which also requires county approval. You can see that at the intersection where it comes in, providing a traffic separator there to separate the opposing flows.
Right. And it not only does it separate the flows, it also forces drivers to be more careful and drive slowly when they're turning on the intersections as opposed to whipping around the corner.
Intersection controls are also some of the measures we talked about. They also require county approval, relocating stop signs, traffic flow, yield signs, and so forth. Those also require approval from the county. Other intersection improvements include bulb outs. As you can see on the top right corner, bulb outs, you frequently see those in the areas near the intersection where there's parking. And they'll frequently have bulb outs in parking lanes.
And what it also does is it narrows the road so that pedestrians have a shorter distance to cross when they're crossing the street.
And you'll see, refined intersection geometry improvements, removing confusing paved areas. All those things are tools that we can utilize where you have locations where you see that there may be some geometric issues. We can fix those.
And what we mean by refining the intersections is, I'm sure you can think of lots of intersections where you kind of just glide right on through. You don't have to slow down. Refining that means that we want to make the turn a little bit more difficult, make it more of a 90-degree type turn. Those are the kinds of things that we will also be looking at.
Other improvements include mid-block traffic calming measures. We have the speed tables, speed cushions, we talked about those, the intersection control measures, intersection improvements, controls, circles, and roundabouts. That's just more of a summary of everything. Overall, we have recommended improvements for Zone 2. These are the recommended overall recommendations for Zone 2. You can see that there's existing devices. You can see that the narrowing of Alhambra Circle is on there, and several intersection improvements, roundabout, speed tables, speed cushions, and median islands have all been identified within your Zone 2 area where you live at.
One of the things I want to emphasize is that this is a result of the emails, the phone calls, and of the community meetings that people have attended. And I noticed that a lot of new hands went up today. So that may mean that your particular location hasn't been captured. So what that means is this. We will, tonight, I'm sure everybody has a comment card with them. If not, you will get one. What that means is that we will work with the police. The police, they're like our triage. They will put out a device called the Shield 12 where they collect data. And I'm sure you've seen it in some places where it tells you how fast you're going. Well, when they work with the Public Works Department, they put it out and they turn off the feedback. So, you know how it is. You see, you're all guilty, I'm guilty. You see, oh, I'm traveling faster than the posted speed limit, you slow down. In this case, it's turned off, and so you don't know that you're being recorded. They will give us the speed data, and then we will run an analysis to determine whether or not we think your location can go to the next step. Because when you go to the next step, that's when we start spending money. We have to pay a consultant to collect the data, et cetera. And so we will let you know what that feedback is and whether or not you're going to the next step. After it's all finished, I'm going to let people ask questions that are related to process. Absolutely, okay?
Okay, so what are our next steps? We're going to review the comments and get feedback. We're going to find the alternatives. They're currently being refined. That's the reason why you all are here, so we can refine those alternatives. There's going to be a balloting system where we'll implement traffic calming requires, 50% favorable responses. For speed tables and cushions, all the properties, just so you all, for speed tables and cushions, all properties along the block face get to vote. For roundabouts, properties with frontage on the intersection get to vote. So that's important to remember.
Okay, and I want you to pay attention to that, okay? So you're going to receive, once we refine everything, we're going to have another meeting, you're going to take a look at the traffic calming, and then you're going to, you'll receive a ballot in the mail. And 50% of the people in that area need to vote in favor in order to implement. That's for the speed tables and for the roundabouts as well, okay? And so at the roundabout location, it has to be 50% at the roundabout, okay? In the past, we needed 100%. That's one of the things that we negotiated with the county. So you need 50% in support in order to get an approval for a roundabout. Unless, of course, you have a crash rate that is a life safety issue. Yes, Mr. Santamaria.
I'd like to clarify one thing. I think that it's important to note that it's got to be 50% of the ballots that are returned. It's not 50%.
That's correct, yes.
What was that?
50% of the ballots.
Okay, so as Jessica mentioned, the balloting is going to start in April through May. So be on the lookout for those ballots. And we look to start developing design plans between May and June of 2020 and starting construction early 2021. And just a reminder, it's an incremental approach and everything's not going to happen all at once. Everything will need to be prioritized so we can move forward. So everything will not be a single project, but okay.
Now, it's property owners who receive the ballots. And tonight, you signed in. Hopefully, we have your email address. You also have your comment cards. Put your email addresses clearly on your comment cards so that we can put you on the email list. So you get the updates, that you know that there's a community meeting, so that you know the ballots are coming. We will still be sending out mailing, but email, we want to get as many ways, get the information to you out as many ways as possible, okay? So the way that this is going to work now is if you have a question related to process, we'll take the questions related to process. If you have questions about a specific area, we're going to go to, you'll be able to talk directly with the engineers at the specific locations. So we'll take process questions first. Ms. Cruz in the back?
Yes, I'm sorry, but I could not hear what Mr. Santamaria said. Are we talking now about 50% of those returned?
That's correct.
Because in the past, that was not the way it was. Clarify.
50% of the ballots returned. It's just like a general election. Whoever votes has a voice.
No, because in previous, if you didn't return it, it counted as a yes.
But that's not how we do it.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start here and then we'll come this way.
So, for example, a street where we're looking to have some device done, do we initiate a process to get the ballot sent out? What's the trigger to get it?
So tonight, you're here. You're going to let us know the area that you're concerned about. If it's not already here, we're going to work with the police department. The police department will collect the data. We will analyze the data. We will get back to you and tell you whether or not we're going to go to the next step. And the next step is that we initiate an official traffic engineering study. If that comes back and says, yes, you qualify for traffic calming, we will design a proposal for you. And then once the area has a look at that, that's when the balloting process starts for you. Okay, I'm going to come this way, okay?
That was my next question. April.
Okay, so wait, okay, so I don't know if your particular area is already on one of these boards or not. in order for it to start in April, you're already on one of these boards. That means you've been part of this process over the past 4 years. So there is a lag time for the people who are coming into the process now.
So if we're not in that process, then give me, if you could, an idea of what the time frame would be if we started.
Well, I can't give you a timeline right now because this is a citywide process. This is the second of 5 meetings, okay? But we have your information, and you will be kept updated by email, and you can always reach out to us, okay? You in the back?
Yes. What if you already have a roundabout and it's not working? What's the process for that?
So what that location, if you, whatever that your location is, you can talk about it at the specific table, but for everybody, this is an important question. We will work with the police department, they'll collect the data, they'll let us know whether or not it's working or not as it relates to analyzing the data. And then, just like I explained before, we'll get back to you and we'll explain it. Now, if you do have a roundabout at a location and you still have speeding, then we say, okay, is a speed table a good solution for this location? Is a median okay for this location? And we'll work through that process. Okay? I saw one in the front here.
We have extenuating circumstances, so this is a long process. Just recently, I went into the park down the street from our street, and Anderson is right in front of the park. So people speed quite a lot on Anderson. It's very dangerous. So this, our particular, it's not a particular situation, but it's children, it's people crossing the street. And now the park is very popular, it's not even open, we've been waiting for it for a couple of years. And I can see, we are seeing a lot of people coming by, very dangerous. I almost would kill them.
So I know Anderson does have proposed traffic calming. I don't know if it's in the vicinity of the park or not. I am extremely familiar with your location. My son catches the bus right around the corner, so I know exactly what you're talking about, yes.
It's going to take a long time, and in the meanwhile, we have extenuating circumstances regarding children.
So when we work with the police department, and we will get that data back, and if that data comes back and it is just off the charts, we will act accordingly, okay?
As far as speed.
Yes.
All the things, you have to have all the criteria.
Yes, that's correct.
And then the process is.
Yes, and that's for any location. If we get a new location tonight and it's off the charts, then we have to act accordingly, okay?
And timelines will be.
And we'll act accordingly depending on how.
I think we'll make it for each other.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get the feel for it.
Okay.
Because of the same circumstances.
Okay. I understand. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go start back and then move.
Can you talk a little bit about whether traffic resumption is a part of this process? Our street was analyzed, our particular street was analyzed, we were told, despite there being like 12,000 cars coming through a week, they weren't driving fast enough for everything to be done. So I saw something about diversion and things like that. Is that part of this process?
So we are not reducing traffic. Traffic in Miami-Dade County, traffic all over the country. There is no place that traffic is going down. Traffic is increasing everywhere. What we are doing is we're managing the flow of traffic to make people drive with civility.
That doesn't mean make them drive on.
It doesn't mean make them drive on his street. It
Streets
means
versus smaller residential streets?
we cannot close off streets. We can't divert it to other streets.
Thank you. Since you have a terrific plan, and you look at the place, you collect all the data, and then you make a plan on how to improve it. And then what happens when that plan does not get implemented and nobody's talked about it? We have experiences in the past in which we have learned together, we have seen the new plan, we said this is great, and then nothing gets done.
I'm not.
Yeah, we need to know which place it is, because there are some hot places that some people are very killed there. And then we're going to say, why didn't you tell us? So we want to tell you tonight.
Great, and that's why you're here. Now, I will let you know that the City Commission has funded the Citywide with all of the traffic calming devices that we have proposed, the commission has funded that for us to implement. So the commission is taking this very seriously, and we will work with you, okay? Okay, and then I have to move over there.
I'm sorry, you just didn't mention, so I was just curious, because part of what we're seeing in our area, I'm on the Mango area in Cardena, and what we're seeing is that Waze is what's also diverting a ton of traffic from our streets, and how it's different, and then this is during rush hour traffic, that we're rushing, and it's increasing the volume and then the speed again. And I know there was some conversations about trying to work with Waze, because maybe put people, direct people to go a little bit further back, but that's also what's changing all this traffic patterns.
Yes, and that's happening, again, that's across the country. So, hi there. So I'm going to get over to this side now, and I'll start in the back and move to the front.
I am not sure if this deals with process or substance, but Ada and the gentleman over there sort of provided a lead-in for my observation, which is that when the Bacardi building was built, and it's actually not an observation, it's a request, when the Bacardi building was built, and it was built as something else, like Burger King or something like that, the idea was that we would but we would have a contiguous median between Bird Road and, say, Coral Way or Biltmore Way, right? Apparently, after that promise was made, and I'm not pointing fingers, this is not finger pointing, this is just hopefully my memory is correct and I'm reminding everyone, and if I'm wrong, please point it out. We were promised that there would be a solid median across Segovia between Bird and, do you remember, was it between Bird and Biltmore or Bird and Coral Way? Doesn't really matter, okay? So watch. Apparently, our public safety folk from the fire department and the police department said, hey, wait a second. If you close the street that way, you will make it hard for us to quickly get to citizens who live between, who have the median between them and us. And because of the public safety component rationale, apparently that promise was rescinded. We understand it. However, it is my understanding that our fire department and our police department are going to move north of the area. So they no longer have to jump the median. They can come around. So hold on.
It's a question of process, and it's very good. You're right, public safety does get involved in determining whether traffic calming, what measure of traffic calming is appropriate for an area. Now you're talking about a specific location, and we're more than happy to discuss that with you, but it's good to keep this meeting moving forward. So there's plenty of time to do that in a few minutes when we talk about site specifics.
You got it. I'm stopping.
Yes. It's you, yeah.
Ms. Kelly, help me understand what is, I saw the slide, my eyes might not be good enough. What is a speed cushion?
Okay. A speed cushion works just like a speed table, but it's designed so that our emergency responders can pass through. So on Solano Prado, for example, for years, they wanted speed tables, and we have to make sure that emergency responders can get where they need to go so that they can help us. And we came up with they couldn't get traffic calming down there because they wouldn't be able to get there fast enough. Came up with a design for a speed cushion so that it allows. Can you go back? Okay. The wheelbase of the emergency vehicle can pass right through here. They don't have to drive over top of it. So do you understand what I'm saying? They're a little bit wider than a car, so they don't have to go over the bump.
So it's a hump that is narrower than the other humps?
Yes, and so you and I, when we drive our cars over it, we can't do, we have to drive over it. At least one of our tires has to go over, and it slows it down. We had seen a 10-mile reduction in speed, 10 miles per hour, on Biltmore Drive when we installed the temporary cushions.
Okay. Great. The 900 block of Valencia, which you're very much aware, is the alternative to Corway for at least 600 to 650 people every day. This is a block, one of the longest blocks in Coral Gables. And then that's from Granada to Toledo.
Yes, now we have traffic calming proposed on the maps. We have speed tables. And so, but what I want to make sure is that we want to limit these questions to process. So if we want to talk site specific,
Can I ask you a question?
okay, sure.
Because of the unique situation last week, who do I talk to tell them ideas?
That's what we're all here for tonight. We have all of the engineers in the room that are ready to talk to you.
But all the engineers have the same authority?
The city has the authority. No, this is, you have the assistant city manager is here. Yes. Okay. Oh, one person next, and then you get to go.
Traffic calming. You also talk about the first measure is the reduction of the speed limit. What are you doing to enforce that, reduce the speed limit? Because we don't see anybody really controlling that practically anywhere.
Unfortunately, I don't have a police department representative to discuss the enforcement. I don't know if the assistant city manager wants to chime in.
So, this is one of the most common themes that I hear over and over from folks, which is we don't see anything. And there's a reason for that, because there are not enough resources to enforce the speed for the traffic in the city. So what happens is you have spot enforcement that rotates.
Could you move some of the people that are parking? Because, I mean, if you compare people who exceed the parking time to the people who exceed the speed limit, definitely the second one is more
I
important.
would love to be able to do that, but the only folks that can issue citations for moving violations have guns and badges.
Just one
Parking folks can only issue parking.
One short question, we have the same speed. I think the speed limit thing starts with changing the sign from 30 to 25.
Do you have a 30
If you
mile
don't
an
change
hour sign on your street?
No.
Mine says 30.
So are you on Collector Street?
Yeah, she lives on a 30-mile-per-hour street.
Collector Street. So Collector Street's are different. Because they're
So
wider.
the hours would not be changed to 25?
It is 25 miles per hour. Do you have a 30-mile-per-hour sign on your street right now? On Valencia? Okay. Well, then, we aren't aware that there was a 30-mile-per-hour. That is an oversight, and we didn't know that the sign was there. We'll remove it
So that work?
tomorrow.
Thank you. And so what happens is because one of the directions that we received was to slow down traffic, and to do that, we reduce the speed limit on residential streets to 25 miles an hour. And we also have a competing theme of reducing signage throughout the city. So we initially had a plan that had over 500, 600 signs in the city for speed, but that was by some resistance. So we came up with something that worked for the county, and worked for us in turn, which is to look around the perimeter of the city, we have 25 miles an hour. And everywhere in the city, it's 25 miles an hour unless otherwise. So that's how we reconcile that. That means that the gentleman that was here that had a gun could write a ticket for someone if they were exceeding speed limit.
We never see a policeman in
Well, we would see if we can provide someone at least for a while.
I see him pour away 57,000 every morning.
Oh, yes,
7.
304.
But nobody wants to speak.
The idea behind this is to get to a point where we're not going to be able to do anything about volumes. Volumes are what it is. But we can make that volume more civil. And what you're telling me is that there's a lack of civility, people behind the wheel, especially during the peak hours. So the idea is to get to a point where we can make that more civil and more respectful, in fact, that there's more privacy within the office. And that's just the whole aim of traffic calming. Again, I'm happy to talk to you.
I definitely will.
Okay, Okay, we're almost to the front of the room, and then we can break out and we can look at your specific areas, okay? Well, what's the question?
Okay, what are the methods?
So, Alhambra Circle, which is I'm sure that you're interested in. Some of those methods are narrowing of the roadway, roundabouts, the medians that we had shown, the more passive type measures as well, the textured pavement, those are examples.
Okay, so if the median was the recommendation of the citizens, the residents, who would be polled? For example, in the one.
It would be the people that live around that median, because in some situations, a median can block a person from coming in and out of their driveway, and they may not like that. Now, we have that condition all over Coral Gables, but people choose to just go around the block to get to their house in favor of having the median, which slows down the traffic.
Okay, so for the example here, wherever I speak to, will be able to explain the location of the homes?
Well, this is a concept. This is not, it's not the actual design. I can't tell you right now, any one of these, what individual people will be voting, because these are all conceptual. But as we move through the process, yes. Yes.
Regarding process, after you have this all planned out, do you have to go back to planning a date time for approval?
Only if, yes. Okay, so the answer is yes and no. It depends on what the traffic calming device is that has been selected for a particular location. So these 4 right here, these are the ones we don't have to go back for.
But like a 4-way stop?
A 4-way stop has got to be approved by Miami-Dade County. A 4-way stop is not actually a traffic calming device. It's a traffic control device. So, but Miami-Dade County, they have jurisdiction in the 4-way stops.
I have another question regarding process. Since you're trying to include what other areas, not that it's this, but that it's too big. This is really going to be ongoing for a while.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
It's not just set whatever.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, and okay.
Yeah, where we want a traffic circle, there are no sidewalks. Are you going to implement sidewalks around the traffic circle?
It's a site-specific question, and we would have to talk with you about that. Okay.
One of the things that I see from the chart is that it's very reactionary and not proactive. For example, on the south where I live, on the southeast side of the Gables, which is very close to the Boone and Bird River, how is it that we have not taken into account all the construction that is going on between US 1 and June, with all the apartments and all the commercialization that's going on, and then have to wait till all that, I mean, there's an effect on the streets neighboring that area. So now we have to wait till everything is constructed to see all the outthrough traffic to come up with this rate another year or two.
Well, you don't have to wait. We can collect the data now if we haven't already done it.
For example, the Metro Rail project is not complete. The project along US 1 behind the mall is not completed. So I mean, when all that gets completed and everything on Bird Road, I mean, there's those, that construction has impact studies. So they calculate, more traffic and everything. So where does that fit into here?
As part of the conditions of approval for both of those projects, there is a traffic impact study that's conducted before the project and utilization. And then there will be one in a year or two after the project is completed and stabilized, meaning the occupancy rate is where it should be for occupancy with rental or for purchase use. At that point, the developer has to conduct another study to see what impact they did and implement operational improvements. That's part of the conditions of approval. What I do recommend to you now, if you have a product in the area, you can go ahead and gather data now. That data is going to be different.
I saw one around.
So we can go ahead and proof test, if you want, get a benchmark as to where you're at right now. If it qualifies, we can go ahead and start moving forward.
Well, for the specific area, not only myself, my neighbors on other streets.
So what I recommend is after we complete these process questions and get the site specific, we talk to someone in the group. I guess whatever is going to be a particular area, and we'll go ahead and have that concern, take your information, we'll have that.
Okay, we have one more question, and then we can do the breakout to the site specific. I get that, and yes.
Is there any relation between roundabouts and crashes here in Miami? Because I find the way people drive here, and there's no education whatsoever as to how to drive in roundabouts. Wouldn't you prefer, wherever possible, because I saw about 5 roundabouts all together here, south of Alhambra Circle. Wouldn't you always prefer or give preference to the, what do we call it, the calming things, the low ones, and not the roundabout? The roundabout, I find the port for speed bumps.
Well, different types of traffic calming for different locations. And again, it's resident driven, and some residents prefer roundabouts and some residents prefer speed tables. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the breakout and go to your, James, do you want to tell everyone like where they should look?
Okay. Over in this corner, we have Zone 2A. Oh, sorry. All right.
We lost one.
All right. Well, I'm getting to the slide. All right, we have Zone 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. You can go look at this map here, and you can tell which location you're looking for. Find a suit, ask your questions, give your comments, and please remember, if you didn't write your comment down, we don't know you had a comment.